Alright guys, I thought I would give you a quick rundown on how I do a pattern for our sheaths. I'll start off with a piece of foolscap folded and sit the spine of the knife about a spine's thickness in from the edge of it and turn it over. Make sure that you've still got it parallel and then run around about 3/8 out from the edge of the blade and follow right through, right up to the about half the depth of the handle. About there, that should do. Then I will mark the top front of the sheath. This is for a right-handed sheath too, just quietly, and then we'll look at the belt loop, because this will be for a fixed belt loop. So curl in from each side, curl in from each side, and mark that. You want a wee bit of a taper to it so you don't have the full thickness of that leather going down. And the other reason that you need it slightly tapered, so that when you're doing your stitching, when you've got your belt loop folded over, it will leave enough room to keep this edge of the leather flat on your drill press for doing the marking out the holes. So then when we cut this out, and of course we don't want the belt loop on the front, so that little curve just continues around and becomes the front of the sheath. So then we have, this is our pattern that is now shaped like that. And of course for a right-handed sheath, which is going to sit on this side of us here, this becomes the face of the leather. So I always mark the face for right-handed sheath on the face of that there, so that you don't inadvertently put it on your leather upside down, which will be what you need for a left-handed sheath. So that's just something I learned from having made a left-handed sheath when I wanted a right-handed sheath. So then what you do is you sew your belt loop down, just giving a nice little entrance way into your sheath, and about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch of the leather on the back of the sheath to guide your knife in. Lay this edge here back onto your leather, mark around there and cut out a welt about 5/16 wide and glue it in. Then you can sew all of that together, and so when you put your knife in your sheath, you've got that there as a guide to start it slipping in. And of course it gives you, like so, it gives you just the right amount of clearance in your sheath when you've got your welt glued and sewed in, so that it's going to hold your knife firmly, but it will allow it to pull without having to force it out of the sheath. And of course when you hot wax it, you form across the front of your bolsters, and then that creates a positive stop for your knife going in, so then there's no need for rivets and so forth at the end of your sheath. So that's how I do a fixed belt loop. But if you want to do a separate belt loop, as you might want to do for a longer bladed knife, again you start out with a folded sheet of paper, and again your pattern gets laid out, you mark around it, and really the only difference here is the treatment that you give to the top of the sheath. Again, you come round with your clearance about 3/8 of an inch up to about half the length of your handle again, and then with a nice curve you can mark the top of your sheath, which is the back, and again, now I'll just mark that out a little bit more clearer. So you end up with something like that on your paper. So again, you cut it out. So then we want to remove that from the front of the sheath, and what again this does is to create a pattern that's got your over and your under, and that allows then, and you can see the front of the sheath has got the darker mark on it, and when you're hot waxing it later on, you just fold this back piece here just back ever so slightly, and that creates the guidance to have your knife slip into the sheath nice and accurately. And of course, before you get to that stage, you've cut your belt loop, and with about 7/8 of an inch wide and of the appropriate length, and being the back, you would sew it on like that. Simply fold it over and sew the bottom end on to give you the nice height of carry that you prefer for a longer knife. You may have to bring this down if you've got a knife with an extensively long blade on it. So then you of course just follow on the same principle, glue and your welt in, sew it all up, and do your hot waxing, and you've got another nice sheath done. So that's all it is. Just simply follow the lines of your knife, and that'll dictate how the sheath ends up for you. Just a simple process.